Today, we're going to dig into a topic that's literally right under our feet, rocks. But hey, we're not talking about some boring old stones. We're going to look at them like ancient books, with each one telling a pretty dramatic story about our planet. So let's crack one open, shall we?
I mean, really, have you ever stopped to think about it? That little piece of gravel in the driveway or the bedrock that's way, way down below your house, it has a history. It has a story of how it was made that goes back millions of years.
And oh man, what a story it is. This is no quiet bedtime tale, you know? This is an epic saga. It's got volcanic fire, the slow, patient work of water, and these incredible crushing pressures from deep inside the earth. These are the forces that write the stories in stone.
And you know, like any great book, this story is broken down into chapters. There are three main types of rock that make up the Earth's crust, and each one has its own completely unique origin story. So let's dive into chapter 1.
Our first chapter starts in the very heart of the Earth.
Igneous rocks are kind of like the planet's original rocks, born directly from molten stuff. Think volcanoes, think liquid rock. This is where it all kicks off. So how can you spot an igneous rock? Well, they often look kind of glassy, or they're full of crystals. And here is the big tell. You will never find layers or fossils in them. Why? Because the crazy heat they were born in just obliterated everything. That intense heat also makes them incredibly tough and hard to wear down.
The process itself is pretty simple, but it's unbelievably powerful. You've got this super hot liquid rock, right? We call it magma. It pushes up from deep inside the Earth, and as it gets closer to the cooler surface, it starts to harden. It solidifies, and boom, you have an igneous rock. It's basically just the Earth freezing liquid rock into stone.
But here's where it gets really interesting. It all comes down to where it cools. If the magma cools down really slowly, deep underground, it has time to form these big, beautiful crystals. We call that intrusive. Your granite countertop is a perfect example. But if it erupts out of a volcano as lava and cools super fast on the surface, we call that extrusive. That's when you get tiny little crystals, like in basalt. The speed of cooling really is everything.
Okay, so from the fire of creation, our story now shifts to the slow, patient work of time. And this brings us to chapter 2, sedimentary rocks. You can almost think of these as the historians of the planet because they're built piece by piece over just countless eons. Now, compared to igneous rocks, sedimentary rocks are totally different. The biggest giveaway is that they have layers, which we call strata. They're not crystalline, and most importantly, this is where we find clues to ancient life. Fossils. Because they're just made of a bunch of compressed particles, they're usually a lot softer and less tough than their fiery cousins. So the process here is all about breakdown and buildup. Wind and water just beat down on older rocks, plants, and animal remains, breaking them onto tiny pieces called sediments. These pieces settle down in lakes, rivers, or oceans and just build up, layer after layer. The incredible weight of all the stuff on top squishes the bottom layers together until they harden into solid rock.
And these rocks can form in a few different ways. You've got your mechanically formed ones, like sandstone, which are basically just tiny bits of other rocks all glued together. Then there are the organically formed ones, which are made from the actual remains of living things. Limestone comes from zillions of tiny shells, and coal is just ancient compressed forests. And finally, you get chemically formed rocks, which happen when minerals dissolved in water turn back into a solid, like rock salt.
All right, and now for our final and probably most dramatic chapter, metamorphic rocks. The name itself means to change form, and that is exactly what these rocks are all about. We're talking a complete and total transformation. Here's the most important thing you need to know about them. Metamorphic rocks aren't made from scratch. They're recycled. They start their life as either an igneous or a sedimentary rock, and then they go through this radical change. So how does this happen? Well, deep inside the Earth's crust, you've got this unbelievable heat and crushing pressure that bakes and squeezes existing rocks. Now, it doesn't actually melt them, but it's enough to completely reorganize their minerals, fundamentally changing their texture, their color, their whole structure into something totally new. And the results are just incredible. Soft sedimentary limestone gets cooked and squeezed into hard, beautiful marble. Gritty sandstone transforms into this incredibly tough quartzite. Even igneous granite changes. Its minerals get aligned into these cool-looking bands, and we call it gneiss. It is truly nature's ultimate recycling program. Okay, so let's do a quick recap of the 3 chapters in our story. Igneous rocks, born from magma. No layers, no fossils. Sedimentary rocks are built from compressed bits and pieces, and they're defined by their layers and the fossils they might hold. And metamorphic rocks? They're the wild card. They're transformed rocks that can sometimes have layers or even distorted fossils from their past life. So, we've gone through the 3 main chapters of the story. But you might be asking, why does this ancient history matter to us, right here and now? Well, it turns out it matters a whole lot. First things first, when rocks break down, they form soil. Without rocks disintegrating over millions of years, we'd have no soil to grow the food that we all eat. It's really that fundamental. And think about our energy. Those sedimentary rocks we talked about, the ones formed from ancient organic matter, that's where we get the coal and petroleum that have powered our modern world for over a century. And what about the world we've built all around us? The limestone that goes into making cement, the dolomite we use for glass, the granite in our buildings, all of these are just raw materials that come directly from the Earth's crust. It gets even more personal than that. The rock salt that we use for cooking, that's a sedimentary rock. The gold, the silver, the copper inside our technology, all of it is mined from rocks. They are woven into every single part of our lives. Ultimately, it all comes down to this one simple fact. The Earth's crust is rocks. They aren't just on the Earth. They are the Earth that we stand on. They're the very foundation of our world. So, I'll just leave you with this final thought. This whole story, it isn't over. The forces we've been talking about are still at work today. Rocks are continuously being weathered, compressed, and cooked into new forms in this huge, slow-moving